What's the best job quitting story you can tell? I put in my 2 weeks at a call center and my supervisor, who was great the whole time I was there, said yeah, I'm just gonna give you 2 weeks paid vacation. I know how done you are with this place, with your notice in. I give it an hour before you would call the first rude customer you got a cocksucker. Have a nice life man. It's been good working with you, wherever you are these days Chris. Good call. You were 100% right. F that place and its customers. I had to lay off my entire staff, and myself, with 8 hours notice. I was the contract project manager on a government project, office type work. At our periodic review on a Thursday, the government announced they would not be renewing our contract and our last day was Friday, the next day. I brought everyone into the conference room first thing the next day, let everyone know that we were all out of a job and that today was everyone's last day. I had everyone email me their resumes, and we went over everyone's on the conference room projector and updated them over the course of the day. I then printed out reference sheets for everyone, and we all spent the remainder of the day writing letters of recommendation for each other. I ordered everyone pizza and bought everyone a round of drinks at the bar next door. Most folks had jobs by the end of the next week. Dallas office. Well-established company with a new CEO. CEO writes an all-company email with some sort of harmless inspirational messaging about how we are going to crush it and do well. Blah blah blah. Nothing to get worked up about. A woman in accounting who was mild-mannered and a hardcore Christian Texas lady does a reply all that says something like we believe a word that pompous effer has to say. She had been with the company for 15 years and came in super early to do the books, so by the time most people got to work, it had already happened. But people there at the time said that her reply all went out. She made a loud, for her, squeak when she realized her mistake, calmly got an empty box from the mailroom, packed up her desk, walked out to her car without saying a word to anyone, and drove away. She was never seen again. My first quitting story. My boss told me that we were going to spend our breaks doing mandatory Zumba, and I told her I was going home. Why Zumba though, and why the hell was it mandatory? It was at the beginning of the Zumba craze. This was over 10 years ago. I don't know if it stayed mandatory after that first day. I just remember being exhausted from staying up late the night before working and just being like, screw this. Little backstory, this was at a kids camp where I was a cook. Kids would come in on Sunday and leave on the Saturday, so I was there all week making 4 meals a day plus a mid-afternoon snack for 100 plus people. The one break I got in the day was an hour sometime before lunch, but we were working from 7 AM to 11 PM every single day, for $200 a week. Didn't happen to me, but I got to watch this happen. I went into a Taco John's and ordered a super burrito with no tomatoes or black olives to go. They weren't super busy, but there were a couple of orders ahead of mine. So I'm standing near the counter watching them put items together, and I see that they have started on my burrito. The cook loads it up with everything and wraps it up. He has it in his right hand and reaches up with his left to clear out the order on the monitor. He stops for a moment when he realizes that he effed up by putting everything on the burrito. He is facing me and he turns around and fires a 100 miles per hour fastball burrito against the back wall. He walks into the back room, takes off his Taco John's shirt, puts on a t-shirt, grabs his smokes and his drink and heads out the back door. 30 seconds later the girl running the drive-thru wants to know where Brian is. I pointed him out to her as by now he is walking across the parking lot, toward downtown. I told her that I think Brian gave his notice. She says a few choice words and wants to know what I ordered. Way to give it to the man Brian. A co-worker of mine at Subway when I was working during college. It's the lunch shift of one of the busiest shops in the area. Guy gets halfway through making a sandwich, looks at the customer, and then our manager and says, "Till next time bro," and just walks out. Never came back, not even to pick up his final paycheck. When I left to go back to school, I left 100 sticky notes in random places throughout the store that said, "Till next time." I was a janitor at an elementary school. I worked there for several years and was popular with that K through first grade teachers. I had to move to a different shift so I could work another job. So I swapped with another janitor that the second grade hallway teachers liked. It made them mad, I suppose, and they would file complaints on my work, and I often got called into the office. I was doing my job, but they wanted their other guy back. They were even being rude to me to my face. After several months of this, I get called to the office. My supervisor says one more incident and I'm going to write you up. I was calm and said, "That's okay, I'd like to put my 2 weeks in." He looked shocked and said, "Don't you need some time to think about this?" I said I have. Their opinion of me isn't going to change, and I rather save us some time, while not that epic. The look of what the hell on his face was priceless. It was nice being able to quit like a calm, reasonable person. In conclusion, I went back to school and got a much better job I enjoy. I really like my supervisor but hated my job. He was a real cut up, so that made it livable. I got a new job and handed him my written 2 weeks notice. Just my luck it was the 1st of April. He didn't believe me. Every day I'd remind him how many days left. He started getting testy. He'd played a long game himself, but this was too much. Apparently he was quite surprised when I stopped showing up. Working at Walmart, after a couple years of being a mindless goon, I save up my 2-week vacation and put in for it. Told them I was seeing family. The last day of work before my 2-week vacation, I put in my 2-week notice. Took the manager a minute to do the math. "So, you're not coming back?" No, I'm not. Take care." My cousin got bored and frustrated with his job, decided to leave. Searched and interviewed for a while. Landed a new gig. Friday morning he was going to put in his 2 weeks notice with his boss. That same Friday she told him, tears in her eyes, that his entire team was being laid off and it was their last day. He got 3 months severance pay. Worked at a job for over 8 years. Was promised a promotion if I stayed when I was about ready to look for something else. Was called into the office down the road a bit to be informed they were bringing in an ex-employee who had quit a year or two before for the job I was promised. I had heard a rumor of this and had already made my decision. The boss looked shocked when I said I quit. I punched out and left. Simple but sweet. I work at a small local engineering firm owned by a husband and wife. They're fantastic bosses. A couple years ago, we had another husband and wife couple get hired to be drafters. They were pretty lazy employees, spent half their day watching YouTube. That kind of stuff. After about 6 months, the bosses go on vacation. The next day, the drafter couple come in and say today's their last day. They are moving about 8 hours away. Totally out of the blue. We were all like, "Okay. Did you talk to the bosses? Did you give any notice?" "Oh yeah, we talked to them yesterday and gave 2 weeks notice, but they said to feel free and go ahead and move so we can get our kids settled in a new school before the new year starts." "Alright, well good luck." They worked maybe 3 hours but put a full day on their time card. Then they sent out a company-wide email thanking everyone for being so nice to them while they were here. Blah blah blah. It was touching. The next day, the bosses call and were like, "What happened with so and so?" They had no clue. The email was the first they heard of it. Promoted to assistant manager at GameStop, specifically to go to another store to help deal with one of the biggest loss prevention disasters the district had been dealing with for months. Had worked for the company for 4 years, including the transition from EB Games. Survived multiple, nearly the entire store is fired for stealing nightmares. Because, you know, I don't steal. Help clean up the store and get everything back on track. One morning, I even found $2,000 worth of Xbox 360s that weren't in the inventory. Double check. Triple check. I could have walked out the door with them, and nobody could have known. Call the district manager, who thanks me and tells me to enter them in inventory. Overall the store is doing better. Not great, but things are moving in the right direction. Get a much better job offer though. I'm not going to start for a month. Immediately give my notice. Soon after that, the company isn't pleased with the store manager's performance, so he's fired. and the temporary store manager and the district manager begged me to not quit early, since the store manager was a good friend and they thought I'd be pissed. I assured them that I wouldn't do that. Last day comes and goes, leave on good terms. A few months later, I decide to reapply as a sales associate to get some extra cash during the holidays. They tell me I'm on the no hire list because the store I had worked at had lost so much money to theft. Yes, the very same store I was hired to help clean up. The one where I'm on record having brought $2,000 worth of hardware to upper management's attention that I could have walked out the door with. TLDR, F GameStop. Cafe manager hired a shift leader from outside the company, which was full of young people like me who needed more hours and pay. The new shift leader needed to be full trained, likely lied on her job application, but was still accepted. She was fired second week after 3 no-call no-shows, and when I asked my manager why he would hire someone with no experience over me or my co-workers, he said he would have to see me work in my current position for another year. This is a job where they cap you under 28 hours. I told him I didn't know what to say, and that he can expect my 2-week notice. I just heard from my friend that the manager is quitting, and they have hiring ads posted legit everywhere at the moment. Typical not me but story. Person was helping a customer who was not being nice at all. My coworker is generally a patient fellow, which is part of why managers would send the doozies to him. I don't know the full context, sadly, or exactly what was said, but as this woman was droning on about how disappointed she was, how he is doing nothing for her, how she has been so inconvenienced by this, he is taking his work shirt off. As he's folding his shirt and waiting for her to finish her sentence, he lets her know that her, and people like her who come in just to have a soundboard to bitch at, are why he is quitting right now, in the middle of her session. She can go F herself, and that was it. Great dude, but they couldn't keep him after talking to someone like that. He was done, anyway. I once put a notice for my summer fast food job because it was interfering too much with my class walk once fall came around. The manager then stops everything and makes a huge production of announcing to everyone on shift that I was leaving to go back to school. I was in 10th grade. He made it sound like I was about to get my PhD in curing cancer. Shit was awkward. My dad went into the boss office during lunch and said, "I have been contacted by the mothership. I have to return to my home planet. Thank you for the job." Shook the guy's hand, left the building, and never contacted them again. Worked at a place for a year and a half that was similar to Subway, but little more healthier in the sense of also having salads, wraps, smoothies, etc. The owners also had a sister store that I would sometimes fill in at if needed, and I found out that their new hires were making $1 an hour more than I was, so I went to the owners for a measly $1 raise, and was told no and some bullshit story about things being tight right now, and maybe soon, blah blah blah, which was bullshit because the owners already took their 3rd vacation for the year. Asked for a few days off, started another job, and when I came back, I gave them a 1-week notice. They were so pissed. But here's the good part of the story. A few months before I left, they hired a new manager and I'd helped him with counting out the register and doing cash drops to the bank after we closed. Well, after I left and he was the only one handling all that, he started pocketing the cash to supplement his gambling habit, and ended taking over $4,000 before they caught on to what he was doing. The owners also had to settle up with the food distributor since he skipped out on paying them, and they eventually quit delivering, so there went some more money out the door. Since they were too cheap to do a background test when they hired this manager, they found out that he had an extensive record and even did time in prison for arson. There was also no way of them recovering that money because their lawyer said it would cost them more to go after it. And that's the story of how refusing a goddamn measly $1 an hour raise cost a restaurant thousands. My job told me since they fired the other supervisor, I was just going to have to do his job from now on. My original job was insane. Now they expected me to double that with no compensation. Well, it got old real fast and we had a seriously busy day, and I decided I was done. I let $1 million of shipments sit in a trailer, back in the corner, and told all my guys thanks for the hard work, our day is done. I quit that day and the next day I got a call with them freaking out about all the money they lost. I just hung up on the boss and never looked back. Last job I quit, I put in my 2 weeks notice and then I came in every day and stayed a few hours late to help with the transition. On my last day I shook some hands, told everyone it was great working with them, handed in my kit and left. You monster. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more daily Reddit videos.